Okay, so this is the brief proof of concept for 6 damage slash 6.5 damage RE. This will be the universal condition for testing. Same evo, same leap, slightly different alignment for gauge. Everything will be level 8 and the gem setup for 7 damage and 8 damage will be the standard setup for what you'd see with Headhunt for 8 damage. And 100% crit and no rate captain or keen blunt, so as little variation as possible. The concept of this build is resetting Fatal Wave through the Destiny activation that you get from the Relic Core for Fatal Wave on Moon and Sun, and that's the minimum requirement you need. The other part is also getting a Relic Core for the Star Core for Fatal Wave, and you also get 30% more, I think, cast speed, attack speed, which makes this much quicker and just way nicer to play. So with the reset, you can alternate between Soul Absorber and Void Strike to build your gauge, and should look something like this. And you can kind of see why I call it 6.5 because you're not actively using Headhunt every rotation. This can also be pushed to 6 damage, and you would probably highly prefer a level 10 Maelstrom here, but you can skip out on Headhunt entirely for quite a while if I just kind of go at it for a bit and try my best to avoid using Headhunt by using Maelstrom more. So at this point, right, you can kind of see with a level 8, it's quite annoying here. But and then eventually you will have to use Headhunt to fill up the last bit of gauge when your Maelstrom is running out on like earlier part in your rotation. So that would be what quote unquote 6 damage would look like. But if you use Headhunt on like every other rotation, should be solid 6.5 in clean rotation. So why would you consider playing this? Well, one, obviously, if you just never get the other cores, and for some reason you have like ancient cores here for the Fatal Wave stuff, then that's one consideration. The second consideration is that I haven't tested with the cores yet, so of course math would have to be extrapolated onto this for the cores, the damage increase from the cores and things like that would have to be extrapolated onto the parses in the description. But I think that this build, even with cores accounted for, should do more damage than the 7 damage, the standard 7 damage setup. I think it is close, maybe on par with the 8 damage. And the benefit is that you still get to keep Spin Cutter, and that your Headhunt is not on cooldown as often, right? So you can go for counters, or like if you are in need of a counter for some reason. And also, your gems doesn't need to be that high level, so even a level 7 Maelstrom here would work. And every other cooldown gem is essentially to fix your mistake. So, for example, I have a Fatal Wave gem here. If there's ever an occasion where I whiff a lot of abilities and I end up hitting Fatal Wave, turning slash, and then I would have to use Fatal Wave again, then the cooldown gem is just to help the after the surge that my Fatal Wave isn't on too high of a cooldown. And then the last consideration is that the recovery of this build is actually really, really good. So I'm gonna intentionally just pretend like, oh, I with, T skill and Twin Shadows, and I'm just gonna use Fatal Wave, Turning Slash, and Headhunt on my Void Strike rotation. Nice. And if I just wait a bit, again, you can see here, if I just sit here and I wait a bit, right? This is, well, of course Spin Cutter exists too, but this is a lot better than not being able to like recover at all. And of course, you also have two other, what do you call it, cooldown gem slot. So if you need to use the other one to recover your gauge, then afterwards you can just go first on the other skill and then like use Soul Absorber at the end. So something like this, like let's say I had to use like that, and then or something, and then you can slot in a Soul Absorber once it's up and Spin Cutter or whatever. So recovery is really great, and better recovery than the 7 damage. There's some downsides, like obviously you can't play this without the cores, and that you kind of have to use wealth on a lot of this, but stuff to take into consideration, and I think this build should be explored more now that Fatal Wave is buff, and that you don't have to hit the enemy the whole way anymore to do the maximum amount of damage, as it says here. You can just kind of graze them, and you will get the same amount of gauge and do the same amount of damage. Right. So yeah, that should be it.